stage for this particular story, I do have to let you know that at this time in my life, I was really conscious of my circle, my acquaintances, the people I had myself around, friends, family, regardless of who it was. I was really conscious of that at this time. It's just as hard meeting a good female friend as it is to meet a husband or boyfriend. Now, I do get along with everybody. I get along with older people, younger people, women, men, black, white, Indian, Brazilian. It doesn't matter. I get along with pretty much everybody. It's just my close circle. I like to be very particular about who I put in my space. And I feel like I've been like that all my life. It's just as I've gotten older, I've been more conscious about it and more purposeful about that. And I think all of us should. But anywho, do also have to put a warning on this story because it does take a turn to the left. There is a twist at the end of the story. The open is fairly light. The ending is fairly interesting. So I do have to warn anyone who's watching today with this particular story. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I'm a hairstylist. I work for myself in a private salon, and I had a new customer, and throughout the appointment we were conversating. Conversation was flowing. She seemed to have similar interests. We were having a good time, laughing, joking, and at some point in the time frame of me doing her hair, we had talked about maybe possibly meeting up outside of the salon environment for appetizers or something like that. And we end up talking on the phone maybe once or twice before we end up going out and meeting up. So we met up at happy hour. Things were cool. We ordered some appetizers. We were talking. We were just chilling. Cool. Okay. So at some point she tells me this random story that throws me off a little bit with her character. Okay, here's the story. She was telling me how around this time, I believe it was the end of summer, that maybe a month prior to us meeting up, she went out to the beach with 3 of her male friends, and they were at some club or restaurant that is on the water of that beach. And they were inside, they were dancing and listening to music. And at one point, one of the guys that she was with pointed out a girl that he was interested in and asked her, hey, you know, could you go over and tell that girl I'm interested and maybe walk her over? Something like that was in the story. So she tells me that she goes over to the girl that he pointed out, tells the girl, hey, my friend is interested. He thinks you're beautiful. You want to go talk to him? And she proceeds to tell me, the girl tells her, well, I'm not interested in your friend. She looks at the friend, but I'm interested in you. Okay, fine. But in the story, she says, oh, okay. And at some point in the story, they end up in the bathroom kissing and making out. At this point in the story, I probably should have walked out of the restaurant. I'm sitting there about to choke on my lemon water when she's telling me this story. And I just remember going on in my head, at some point I'm going to have to make it clear that this is not a date. I am not interested in women, and not that I have anything against gays or lesbians or anybody. It's just that's not what I am, and I don't want to have any confusion. And so I just knew at some point I would have to make it clear that I'm not interested in that. If that's why she was telling the story, to hint that that's what she's into, because I'm not. And so at some point, actually that night, I did mention, I can't remember word for word how I put it, but I put it very light, but very clear that that's not something I'm particularly into. And she was cool about that, but I feel like she needed in her head to test. Don't test me. Don't test me. I didn't come here for tests. We ate, we had a good time. We actually ended up being there for some time and talking about other things, but she was cool. She was cool so far at that moment in time. Fast forward a little bit, I believe maybe after that, maybe on 2 different occasions we met up, once at the house, and she has a young son who was 5 at the time, and we came over and we just watched like a Disney movie with the kids. I have a daughter. I cooked dinner. That was the end of that. And another time we all went to Target or Walmart together and did some shopping. It started to be kind of a lot of negative vibes. She got more into her personal life and what was going on with her and her son's father, which is what we end up talking about a lot. And it was in a way where it was very negative. And what had happened was her son's father had left her for another woman and started another family. And I can understand where somebody would be upset with that situation. And she was extremely bitter though, which, you know, wasn't healthy the way that she was carrying on with it. You could tell it was really a burdening her heart and her mind, which I do understand, but it's something you can't control. And I do believe that perspective and the way you think about things and the way you go about things is very important. You can't control every situation, of course, but you can control how you respond to it. And unfortunately, she was responded to it in a really negative way. She would really down him a lot, and that's all she ended up talking about all the time, which was really annoying to me. And other words I could probably describe, but I'm just going to use the word annoying. When I would try to break from that particular subject, she would always pull it back, and I would give her advice in regards to changing her mindset about the whole thing, because again, it was something that she couldn't control. But she didn't want to let it go, and it kind of put a damper on a lot of our outings after that. And we didn't meet up a whole lot, and she would call me occasionally, and it seemed like it started to become a pattern and conversation, which me as someone who's a natural helper, I would try to always give advice or even suggest for us to go do something that with the kids or with just us, just to take her out of that bubble that she was in. With all the drama going on with the child's father, and at the time she had started dating somebody else, at some point in this story she ends up sleeping with her son's father and she got pregnant, and she actually got pregnant with twins. And I know in the midst of all these things, I'm trying to give her sound advice, and it seemed like she was spiraling down this crazy decision-making path, and it was kind of hurting my feelings, and it was making me really step back from the situation, because it was really deterring me from my original objective of surrounding myself with people with good vibes, good energy. And not that bad things or bad decisions are made with people that have good outlook on life or good vibes or good energy. It's just the coping skills and the response to those things is what makes one different from the other, or the negative person different from the positive person. Not that they're not both making bad decisions, but it's a lot less with a person who's maybe putting herself in more positive situations than negative situations. She was making things worse for herself, I believe, from her mindset. And what ended up happening was, which she had told me, that she was very revengeful in regards to this woman that her child's father had been with. And she, in her mind, I feel like she was determined to get him back or make this other woman hurt. She ended up being pregnant, had an already new boyfriend. Then, of course, it caused more drama within her son's father's current situation. And, of course, in her own life, she's put herself in a deeper hole with everything that was already going on. And at this point, I purposely stepped back. And I felt like, okay, I don't mind occasionally speaking to her or occasionally hanging out, but I can't put a lot of energy to this particular situation. At no point was I mean to her or even said directly, I called her up and say, hey, I'm not hanging out with you anymore or anything like that. No, it's just, I didn't purposely go out of my way to put time or energy into that particular friendship. I hadn't seen her in a minute, and she had to be about 5 months pregnant. And she gave me a call, and she told me that she really needed to talk. She really needed a friend at the time, and I did care for this girl or this woman. And so we met up at a restaurant, and it was good to see her. I hadn't seen her in a minute at that particular time. And so we were eating, and she was pretty much venting about all the things that were going on. And it was pretty, it was a lot of drama. It was a lot of drama, some stuff I'm not used to, and not that dramatic things, again, don't happen to me. It's just how I handle things. And at the time, I tried to give her advice and encouragement, and I could just feel it almost seemed like it was she was purposely pushing it away, when with the call to me for friendship, I felt that someone who was actively trying to make things better would have been much more open to receive those things. And I just felt like she wasn't open to changing her perspective or open to taking in good energy or good advice at that particular time, or any advice at the time. I think she was kind of more dead set on how she already felt and what she was already going to do in the scenario that she had put herself in, or that she was in. And I could just feel this thick cloud in this situation. But I hadn't really talked to her or reached out too much after that time. After I gave her advice, wished her good luck and wished her the best in her situation. But I hadn't really talked to her, honestly. Actually, you know what? That's a lie. I did do her hair at some point later on in the pregnancy, closer to maybe 7 or 8 months. I did do her hair, but it was more of work than anything. And of course we talked, but it wasn't going out of my way meeting with her. So she had the babies in September. And to fast forward the story, one morning in December, I went on Facebook. And I lied to you. This is an absolutely true story. And the first thing I saw was her face in a mugshot. And which was really odd. And it was the local newspaper headline. And so I clicked on the article. She had killed one of her twins. And I know that this story just took a turn for the left. She was arrested for the murder of one of her twins, a 3-month-old baby. I'm not sure what the motive was. I only looked into that situation very faintly because I think that was just too much for me. Firstly, with the murder of a baby, your own child, that was hard for me to digest. And I read up on the situation around that time, and unfortunately, it was very disheartening. I know that was a weird turn in the story, but there's a lot of things that I learned in that particular scenario and in that particular time in my life in regards to relationships and friendships and keeping your circle tight and feeling a person's energy and knowing when to take a step back, because sometimes you do have to take a step back with people. One thing I do believe is you have to keep it simple, and you have to have a good mindset and a clear mindset and a positive mindset to be able to enjoy yourself. And not that everything is always going smoothly, but you can make the best out of things. And another thing to learn from this is perspective. Nothing is always going to be perfect. Everything is not always going to be perfect, whether it's with school, career, your home life, just your mental state, your physical state, whatever. It may be something always off, but you always have control over your own happiness. That's one thing you do have control over. And there can be somebody in the same exact situation that you're going through, and maybe even tougher, and still be smiling, still be genuinely happy, still make the best out of their situation. And that's what making lemonade out of lemons is all about, is taking the cards you were given or taking whatever you were given as far as scenario or situation and making the best out of it. And you do have control over that. When you make a habit of thinking negatively, your actions also start to follow. When that starts in the mind, that negative thinking, it starts to create a bubble of your thoughts. Whatever is in your mind, it starts to become your world and become your reality when it's preventable. You want to take care of your mind and control your thoughts. Nobody's stopping you from having a good time, and you shouldn't stop you from having a good time. I wish the best for everybody watching. Thanks for tuning in today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. And peace.